Hey Ravens, welcome back to another edition of Tarot Tuesday. Today is February 4th, 2020. Just a quick reminder before we get started that if you want to get bonus content from me, readings, the Night Sky newsletter, posts you won't see anyplace else, the best place to follow me is at Night Knight's Wisdom on Patreon, although you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. It's the best way to get all the whatever you want to call this that you can handle. This week's aspect doesn't take place until Friday, and it's less of an aspect and more of emotion as Venus, the Empress, moves into Aries, the Emperor. And so we've talked in the past about oppositions and the way that they sort of function as two planets trying to do the same thing in different ways. Um, this is sort of the placement of Venus and Aries is sort of an opposition unto itself because you have the Empress and the Emperor together. They're both trying to do the same thing. They're both creative forces, but they do it in very, very different ways. The Empress tends to be a little bit more receptive, a little bit more generative, and a little bit more acquiescent to the flow of things, whereas the Emperor is a little bit more dominant and forceful and very much about having his own way. Venus is a little bit uncomfortable here, not terribly so. Aries and Taurus are next door neighbors, but it is kind of a strange placement for Venus. While it's here for the next few weeks, you can expect and try to resist these tendencies, but you can't expect your anger to bubble up in places that maybe it normally wouldn't. Things that hit close to home will do so. Just seem to do so just a little bit more. It'll chafe just a little bit harder. Like I say, it's not a bad placing. Venus certainly isn't in fall or anything in Aries, but it is a very uncomfortable one. However, discomfort is what makes us grow. So make the best of it if you can. I will share with you that for me personally, the last few weeks have been very kind to me. My natal Pisces, or my natal Venus is in Pisces, excuse me. So I feel pretty at home with the energy as it stands currently. Friday is going to come and probably throw me for a little bit of a loop. Hopefully not terribly much, but as with all things, time will tell. And remember, astrology is participatory. It's as much about what you do as the energies themselves. So like I say, try to resist the urge to give in too much to getting angry when things hit close to home. They're going to seem like they were really well aimed for a little while. Of course, this will all depend on where Aries falls in your chart. And if you don't know and you want to know, you should hit me up. In the meantime, we begin with Aquarius. The Tower. Y'all already know how I feel about this card. I make no stranger of the fact that of all the cards in the tarot, this is the one that particularly frightens me. But you were so. Well, let's talk a little bit more about chafing and about sandpaper, Aquarius, because for you, this is an aspect that it isn't just uncomfortable and it isn't just an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to be sharpened. If any of you have ever seen a knife or other blade taken to a grinder by a blacksmith, but it is a process that produces a lot of sparks. Shards of steel can go flying. You can lose the tips of your fingers to the band. It's abrasive. This is going to change you ultimately for the better, but it is going to mean, Aquarius, that you're going to have to eschew a lot of things. Um, a lot of the things that you have held to be true or taken for granted are going to be gone as a result of Venus's transit through Aries. Um, Again, like I say, discomfort is what makes us grow. So I think that ultimately this will be to the good for you, but it is going to, again, require you sloughing off a lot of weight. It's going to be just a little rough. For Pisces, we have the Devil. And with the Devil, we've got revelations about the ways in which our emotions can hold us captive. Pisces, and no one is less of a stranger to their own emotions than you. Um, but it is something that you are going to have to deal with. The discomfort here is making you aware of the ways in which you are trapped in your reactions to things. You're going to have to confront the fact that sometimes you just can't let it go, and then deal with why that is. But again, it's very much a thing of being a prisoner in your own emotions and in your own feelings, where it might be better to let it go. For Aries, we have the Eight of Swords. Interference apparently is the theme of this card. This is my new deck. It's the Thoth Tarot, the Aleister Crowley one. I like it. I particularly like it, but sometimes the words don't make sense to me the way I normally interpret cards. But as Venus comes into our sun sign, my fellow Aries sons, we have to get out of our own way. We are in our own way, and we need to get out of it. Specifically, our emotions and our temper are in our way, and we need to get out of it. We need to not focus so much on that we're angry or why we're angry. We sort of need to just let things be and deal with them accordingly. That's it. It's just we need to get out of our feelings, and then we need to get out of our own way, or in perhaps in getting out of our feelings we get out of our own way. But either way, we need not be so attached emotionally to a desired result and just let things be what they're going to be. For Taurus, we have the Princess of Cups. Taurus, what you're going to be dealing with as Venus transits Aries is feeling a way that you've never felt before, or having feelings that you feel like you're a stranger to. An emotional response to which you are unaccustomed. I don't want to say can't relate. It is your own head after all. But feeling in ways or feeling about things in a manner that is not your normal one. The feeling of being out of your depth or out of your comfort zone is here, but also the need to listen more carefully to the inner self. You need, Taurus, to be much more careful about what the inner voice is telling you as you step into these uncharted emotional waters for the next few weeks. For Gemini, we have the Nine of Discs, which is this deck's name for Pentacles, and the theme is gain. Or, you could put it another way and call it profit. But so far, Gemini, it seems like you stand to profit, as long as we're going to use that word, the most by Venus being in Aries. It will be sextile to your sun, which is a nice, favorable, kind of easy aspect. And the sun in your sign will probably help pull the worst of this out away from you, to the point that, you're if you put the work in, you are more likely to get good out of it and to get more good out of it than everybody else. But you got to put the work in. That is the key here. But again, a nice, favorable aspect. The problem with sextiles is that they're kind of lazy. They make it feel easy and therefore not really worth doing. And so we tend to not. You need to do it. That's right. Cancer is next. Maybe I should just wear that Zodiac shirt every time I do this so I can look at it. Sorry, thought I was going to sneeze. For Cancer, we have the Seven of Cups. Debauch is the theme for this card. Which I gotta say throws me for a little bit of a loop, if I'm honest. I've always thought of the Seven of Cups as a card of illusions. Or of too many choices. But you could parlay that right into overindulgence. There are too many things to partake in. And, like your sister in Pisces, you're also a very emotional sign. But where Pisces sons will be dealing with feeling as though they're trapped in their feelings, you're just going to feel overwhelmed by them. Less like they're a cage around you and more like they're an enormous weight upon you. They're literally impressing themselves upon you, or at least that's the feeling. Aries is high energy and it's going to rev Venus up, and for you that means finding ways to cope when joy, sorrow, rage, fear, any and all of the above, and others I haven't listed, are all going to be very powerful for you during this time, Cancer, even more so than usual. And it will be important to express them. You cannot let you are going to want to try to stay within your shell, but you cannot do that. There's not enough room for them and you. Somebody's got to go, and the shell belongs to you. You might as well stay in it. For Leo, we have the Five of Wands, and strife is the card's theme. I do like that one. As long as we're talking about fiery emotions and we're talking about a fire sign, you will notice if you look very, very closely at this card that the Leo symbol is part of it, along with, I believe that's Saturn. Yes. For you, Leo, the struggle is outward rather than inwards. You're already given to something of the outward bound in your emotions. You're already used to, at best, shining brightly and at worst, exploding. If you want to take the literal metaphor for the sun, which is just one really big contained nuclear explosion. And so for you, the problem is not so much internal as external. In you, rather fittingly for the back half of the zodiac, since we started with Aquarius, the problem, or not the problem, but the struggle makes its way from the internal and the interior to the external and the exterior. For you, the issue that Venus and Aries will cause is not within you, but out in the world. The way you will have to sort of Even if you do well with this energy, there's going to be some amount of cleanup that needs to be done. And whether that's making amends for the things you do and say or purging the people from your life who can't handle you at your worst, there will be some sort of excess to, some sort of mess to clean up, some sort of excess to be rid of before Venus's turn through Aries is said and done and it moves into one of its home signs in Taurus. For Virgo, we have the Seven of Swords. Futility is the purported theme of this card. And again, not what I usually associate with it. When I think of the Seven of Swords, I think of deception. Although you could talk about lies that you ultimately get caught up in and come full circle to this theme. And so control is often your watchword, Virgo. A lot of the time, it's what you need, it's what you want, it's what you crave. Um, there are lots of names that Virgos have been called stereotypically. I think the least insulting of these, although it sounds horrible, is just anal retentive, which is just to say that you like things a particular way. But some things are beyond your control. And it's important to grasp that it's like trying to hold water in a closed fist. You can't do it. It cannot be done. The tighter you clench your hand, the less likely you are to hold the water because you need both. You have to cup your hands to hold water. And so it's this thing where just the tighter you hold on, the more of it that slips through your fingers. That's the feeling that you're going to be dealing with while Venus is in Aries, Virgo suns. Often futility is a lesson in necessary lack of control. Because the more you recognize the things you can't control, the more you can focus on the ones that you can. This is the important lesson for you to learn out of this transit. For Libra, we have the Prince of Discs, or Pentacles if you like. And what Venus in Aries is doing for you, Libra, is it's coming to show you something with respect to your material world. It is coming to show you the problem with your attitudes towards maybe it's your job, maybe it's money, or your home. Just the material, earthy stuff of day-to-day living is Venus in Aries is bringing you an awareness of something, either where you are not happy or where you ought to be happy. It's one of those two things, but it's a really murky gray area. Perhaps it is both that you ought to be happy and are not. Maybe it's time to change something. The one caveat to this, the one thing I would caution you against, is doing the Aryan thing of leaping before you look. When you force the Prince of Discs to hurry, things get missed. His natural pace is plodding, methodical, slow, but also careful and thorough. And when you force him to speed, he loses that carefulness and that thoroughness that you need. So let it move you. Let it show you where you're not happy and what needs to change, but go about making those changes incrementally, not all at once. You will miss things if you do. Scorpio is next. And we have the Queen of Wands. Very, very red, fiery, angry card, this. But There's a really, 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 really neat aura of appropriateness about Venus and Aries for a Scorpio sun. Um, and the Queen of Wands being here for you just kind of wraps that up in a nice little bow. Because I'm gonna get a little stereotypical here and say that from time to time, Scorpio, you roil beneath the surface. Remember that I say it all the time about you, Scorpio suns, or about Scorpio any placement in general. It's just that still waters run deep. But these aren't still waters, not really. It just looks like it on the surface. At the bottom, this is a lake inside a caldera. That's a volcano down there. And just because it's dormant doesn't mean it won't erupt at any moment. The thing about this with the queen, though, is that there's with the queen comes a regal bearing and an air of authority, not to the same degree as the king, where you would be in total control, but this is you. This is sort of it's like an alarm system. You know when you're about to blow, and it gives you probably a split second, but hopefully a few more than that, Scorpio, for you to know that the explosion is coming and get clear of a messy blast radius. As long as Venus is in Aries. Again, it's just enough warning to get out of to make ground zero um, a place with minimal casualties, so to speak. Um, just enough sense not to hurt people who don't deserve it. Although, there might be quite a few who do. Don't think that you have to spare everybody. Not everybody is worth sparing. Heard it here first. For Sagittarius, we have the Two of Cups, love. Hey, just a very kind of harmonious sort of feeling. Interestingly enough, the Two of Cups, if you look at the symbols very closely right there, you can just make them out. Venus on the left, Pisces on the right. And now, so Venus is going to be trying your sign, Sagittarius. And where Leo unfortunately won't get the best of that, um, because it's the applying trine and things are starting to come full circle. Um, Yours is the separating trine. Venus is moving away from you rather than towards, and so you're growing in the direction of what Venus will do as it makes its return to being conjunct your natal sun. Um, so this. It's not that these things won't chafe, although that chafing will probably have more to do with your partner, because I can't read this, try as I might, as anything other than inflamed passions. It's just, if you'll pardon the crudity of my language, this is going to be a time where you're ready to go. And your partner or partners are just going to have to deal with that however they can. Some of them may welcome it, some of them may not, but either way, your motor is running for the next few weeks. And I mean, far be it from me to tell you not to indulge in that, but don't overdo it. As with all things, moderation is key. And last but not least, we have Capricorn, the Six of Wands, which represents victory. There is, and I wish I remembered the translation of it. A friend of mine once told me who studied Aikido. One of the core tenets of Aikido is that true victory is victory over the self. And as Venus passes through its square near Sun, Capricorn, um, Remember that squares are where the planetary energies are trying to do two different things in a way that is cross purposes to each other. So take your typical, your solar Capricorn energy, your day to day normal mode of existence, and put, this very uncomfortable emotional energy up against it. It is hard for you to, you know, particularly because your sun is in Capricorn, it's a thing of not wanting to do what you should want to do and wanting to do what you should not want to do. Uh, and again, in ways that are directly in conflict with each other. It's not just that you play video games when you need to do laundry. It's that I don't know. I'm sort of losing the thread of this metaphor, but it would be like unplugging the washing machine to have an outlet to plug your game console in. You need to find and the thing is that you will, and you will get a lot out of it. But you need to find the way to balance how you feel with what you do and who you are. But that is Tarot Tuesday for this week. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please, please, please hit me up on Patreon. And I will see you next week.